86%. Think about that for a second. That is the staggering share of all U.S. venture capital right now flowing into exactly one place, the AI sector. It's just a massive concentration of wealth, and it is absolutely sending shockwaves across the entire tech industry. Welcome to The Explainer. We've got a massive tech news dump from July 2026 to sift through today, and we're going to uncover the really intense consolidation happening across AI talent, infrastructure, and the real-world economy. So let's unpack the numbers, the hardware bottlenecks, and the human impact. Okay, let's dive into this first piece, the corporate battlefield, specifically the AI talent arms race. Right now, we're seeing this unprecedented talent migration that is completely reshaping the industry hierarchy. Now, what's really interesting here is this shocking pattern of movement. We're talking about the CTOs of Workday, Instagram, Box, U.com, Super.com, and Adept AI. They are all quitting their billion-dollar leadership jobs. Oh, in joining that list, former OpenAI co-founder Andre Karpathy. And here's the kicker. They aren't leaving to go start new companies. No, they're leaving just to become individual researchers on Anthropic's pre-training team. Their goal is building systems that use Claude to accelerate its own training. Analysts are calling this literally the clearest competitive indicator in AI this year. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast in the market right now. Just look at Anthropic's momentum on one side. I mean, they are hyper-focused on hiring this elite talent for recursive self-improvement. They're in early talks with Samsung for custom cloud inference chips, and they're gearing up for an October 2026 IPO. Then, on the other side, you've got OpenAI's distractions. They're trying to balance these massive ambitions against compounding legal battles. They've got the New York Times seeking court sanctions over withheld training data, all while they are defying an Apple Trade Secrets lawsuit to push forward a 2026 consumer hardware device. But hey, all this corporate momentum, it means absolutely nothing without the physical infrastructure to actually run it. Which brings us to the physical bottleneck, the great compute crunch. Remember that 86% figure we started with? Well, in just the first half of 2026, an astronomical $355.9 billion in venture capital was committed to AI, which makes up that massive 86% block. But analysts are warning that this record number is actually masking a structural narrowing. OpenAI and Anthropic alone are absorbing nearly half of all global VC. That means they are effectively crowding out founders in literally every other sector, squeezing the rest of the startup world into that remaining 14%. Now contrast that U.S. venture capital data with this number, $880 billion. That is the size of South Korea's staggering new 10-year investment plan. To put that into perspective, they are committing hundreds of billions specifically to semiconductor manufacturing and building out data centers. Why? Because they want to secure their own sovereign footing in this race. So the crucial point here is that the physical limits of our planet are hitting back hard, and it's rippling across the entire industry. For example, Google is actually rationing access to Gemini for Meta, who is one of its biggest customers, by the way, simply due to its own internal compute constraints. Meanwhile, New York State just enacted a 1-year moratorium on new hyperscale data center construction just to manage energy and water demands. And if you think you can just buy the physical chips, well, TSMC's leading-edge N3 chip node is completely sold out through the end of 2026. The infrastructure is just completely maxed out. But corporate hardware struggles really only tell half the story. Let's shift over to the human consequences, AI's real-world fallout, because this is affecting safety and jobs right now. We've got some pretty sobering new data here from the Future of Life Institute's 2026 AI Safety Index. And the big takeaway? No frontier lab is currently performing better than mediocre on transparency and risk management. Anthropic is technically leading the pack with a C+. OpenAI and Google DeepMind earn a C. Meta gets a D+, and companies like xAI, DeepSeek, and Mistral, they effectively failed their evaluations on honoring safety commitments. And to kind of ground all this macro data into human reality, take a look at this quote from Richard Vulture, the CEO of the hotel software unicorn Muse. Muse just cut 15% of its staff. That's about 170 employees. Vulture explicitly stated that these eliminated jobs were roles built for an era that is ceasing to exist, simply because AI agents can now handle the work that used to require entire teams. And this is definitely not an isolated incident. White-collar payrolls in media, publishing, and advertising have contracted for an unprecedented 12 consecutive months. Economists are pointing out that a stretch like this is just completely unheard of outside of a recession. So it's serving as early, tangible evidence that AI job displacement is actively underway. If you work in the knowledge economy, this is a trend you absolutely need to monitor. Let's move ahead and see how this all builds up to what happens next. The biggest day in AI. The stakes are incredibly high right now. Tomorrow, Thursday, July 17th, is really shaping up to be the biggest day in AI this year. Just look at how all these different elements are colliding on a single day. In the morning, Google launches Gemini 3.5 Pro with a massive 2 million token context window. Then, in the afternoon, TSMC delivers its Q2 earnings, along with crucial forward guidance on global chip capacity. And finally, in the evening, international tech policy takes center stage when President Xi Jinping delivers his first-ever keynote at Shanghai's World AI Conference. You have product launches, global hardware supply chains, and international policy all crashing together. Which brings us to our final thought to leave you with. With that October IPO approaching for Anthropic and the global compute squeeze tightening by the day, can they, or anyone really, secure true hardware independence before the AI bubble bursts? Can any single company outrun the physical and economic constraints we explored in this explainer today? It is the defining question of the year for sure. Thanks so much for joining me to break this all down.